Okay. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel and to the fifth episode of Conversations with Mentors. My name is Shaquita Debele and I have the pleasure of speaking with Tobias Wodenka from Germany. So welcome Tobias.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. And yeah, looking forward to talk to you.
For those of the viewers who may not know you, Tobias had a lot of success in his junior years and was part of the German team until the end of his professional career at the National Center in 2016. He currently holds the highest coaching qualification in Germany, the A Trainer Badminton course, as well as the BWF Level 3 coaching course, and a master's in sports and mathematics for teaching. He is also a part of the highest level in the German league, Bundesliga. So I got a lot of the information from your website, so I hope that I didn't butcher anything.
No, that's all true. The level 3 education from the BWF, we didn't get any license or certificate yet, but I took part in that. And yeah, I would love to play in the Bundesliga, but there is no league at the moment because of Corona and the lockdown. So yeah, but everything right what you said.
Okay. And what team do you play for in the German league?
I play for a club in Munich, so in the south of Germany, and yeah, I played there for I think already 12, 13 years now. I live a little bit away from that, but I think as it is in most countries, we do not train, or most of the players do not train at the club, but at the training center around them. So I also train a little bit further away from Munich, but for the matches I go there to play with the team. We also have quite a few foreigners from other countries usually.
Wait, just before we jump right into the athletes' questions, are you down for some fun rapid fire questions?
Okay.
Okay. Do you prefer cardio or weights?
Weights, definitely.
Footwork or multi?
Multi?
Europe or Asia?
Depends on what, but I would go for. I love Asia. I love traveling to Asia, but I have to go for Europe here.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
I don't like coffee, so definitely the tea.
Um, Favorite movie?
Favorite movie?
That's a
That's
hard
a tough
one.
one. Yeah. A few years ago, I would definitely say Star Wars. I'm not so much into Star, but I would still go for Star Wars, the old three films.
And if you want a badminton coach, what would probably be your job?
Yeah, probably teacher. That's also what I studied. But then, yeah, it's not that far apart from. I'm actually now a teacher for badminton. But yeah, otherwise, I think I would be a normal teacher for sports and mathematics.
Okay. And the last one, what is your favorite junk food?
You count pizza as junk food already, or is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, lots of players say pizza.
Yeah, then I will definitely go for pizza.
Okay, so now we're gonna jump right in and probably get a bit more of your background and that kind of thing. So, how did you get into badminton and competing? And well, later on, how did you get involved into coaching and making that your career?
So I came into badminton like a lot of, I think, European players that both of my parents also played badminton. They also met because of badminton. So yeah, they were really passionate about it. They were always on tournaments, training. So when I was able to hold a racket, I was already there on the court and trying to hit a few shuttles. So yeah, starting there quite early because of my parents. And yeah, also I think because I started so early, it was always just part of my life, and I was also yeah, quite successful in the junior years. And yeah, I always stick with it. And already during my times in school, I also loved the job as a teacher, or I was always imagining, yeah, I would also love to become a teacher. And that's also why after I finished school, I also studied teaching. And then I also went to the National Center for playing singles in Germany here. And after that, so I didn't make it to the top. So it was not that I didn't get to my dream goal of making it to the Olympics and so on. But I still realized when I stopped at the Olympic Center in Germany that I would love to do more with badminton. I still finished my studies with teaching, but yeah, I wanted to find something where I can have a lot more badminton in my daily life. And so I already did some coaching from time to time and on an irregular basis, but then I decided to, yeah, that just combine those two things. And as I said, become a teacher for badminton. And yeah, that's a little bit how I got here now. Still playing a lot, still, as you said, playing the league matches. I also hopefully can play a few more international tournaments when it's possible again. But yeah, basically they're diving a lot into coaching and also coach education at the moment.
What is your favorite part of the coaching process or of being a coach?
The favorite thing is really feeling or realizing that you have an impact on someone, like a positive impact. And because when I think back on my career, I also remember there have been many coaches that had such a huge impact in a positive way and changed my life in certain parts. And I think this is the cool thing about coaching, especially when you also work with younger players, that you can really help them also to find their own way, help them not only to get successful in the sport, but also yeah, develop a personality that will help them in any kind of their lives afterwards. And I also really enjoy coach education. This is because I'm not only doing the kids training or the training at the training center, but also do coach education. And this is the same thing here. I see so many enthusiastic people about they love badminton, but they do not know so much about it, or they would love to know more about it. And with these coach clinics and coach educations, it's such a great atmosphere, meeting so many awesome people and seeing, yeah, they love it. They would love to spend weekend after weekend for the sport. And yeah, this is just yeah, better than anything else I can imagine.
And do you have a particular coaching philosophy that you follow when you conduct your training sessions?
I think I don't know if you can call it philosophy, but I think the most important thing is always go into a training session with a clear goal, and not just going there into the training and saying, okay, what could we do today? Maybe this exercise, but always having like a picture in my head of, okay, after those 1-2 hours, we want to get better in that area. I want to see that the players got a little bit better. And this is also the thing I want to, the attitude I want my players to have, that they always go in training and try to get a little bit better every training. And maybe about philosophy, I think the thing I value the most, or I would always want to see first, is that when I work with players, that I do not see the player or the athlete first, but the person first. I think I think this is maybe better in terms of philosophy, that as I just said, not only want to help them get successful in sports, but also help them to, yeah, maybe succeed in life, if you want to put it like that.
Stemming from that, I liked how you said how you go into the sessions and you plan to accomplish a particular goal, or you have a particular goal in mind. So I I watched one of your YouTube videos, but just for those that don't follow your YouTube channel, how do you plan your sessions in a particular way that you get the most out of it? Like, is there a specific order you should do certain types of exercises?
Yeah, I think there's so much around that. So I'm also don't want to say that I'm perfect at it or nearly perfect at planning those things out. And you also have, with the kids I'm working on, they train 7 to 10 times a week. So there are so many different aspects you also have to consider, like how hard was the last few days, what are there tournaments kind of coming up, what is coming up the next few days. So I'm always having that in mind. You have to already think about, okay, how hard should the session be? And then of course you have these certain topics you want to work on for several weeks maybe. So yeah, but in a session when I finally have a thing where I say, okay, this fits into the plan, we're working on this topic, we want to get better at that area, and I'm thinking, okay, so is it something really hard for the head where you have to think a lot? If it's something like really deep tactical, or maybe also some about coordinative skills where you have to think a lot, then I would always put that in front of the session. And if it's more about, maybe if we just want to work on, or if I say, okay, I also, besides the technical topic, I want to put some endurance in, then that always put it in the end, because when the head is maybe not so fresh anymore and you cannot really concentrate, there's usually still a little bit left in the legs, so you can work that area. And the other way around, maybe you've also realized it or feel it. I think it's super hard to make a tough session for the legs and afterwards try to concentrate. It can sometimes also be helpful, because in a match we also have to do that. We have to concentrate even at 19 all, or even especially then in the third set. But yeah, for training, I would always recommend to go first for some things that are more concentration based maybe, and then in the end more physical based things.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. What are some of the qualities you've seen so far that make a high performance player? Because that's a difficult category to sort of break into.
Yeah. So I would say, as Batman is so complex, you have to be uh, very well rounded. Like you cannot allow to have some real weaknesses. You have to be fast. You have to have a good endurance. You have to be good at the mental side. You have to be strong. You have to be good in tactics and especially technical skills. So I think you have to be good in all these parts. When I think back, when I played really top players, so I wasn't that high at the world ranking, but from time to time I also played. I can imagine, I can remember well when I played Kenneth Jonassen from Denmark, and it was already a few years after he stopped his career. He was not training that often anymore, and I went in there and I said, okay, I want to play as good as I can. Maybe there's something possible for me, because he's not training that much anymore. And then he really destroyed me in the first game. And it was always, when I hit the shuttle, he was always already standing there. And when he was hitting the shuttle, I had no clue where the shuttle was coming. I always started too early, or was starting in the wrong direction. And I was just standing there, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And I realized this is so much harder to read the shots of these like top players. I really realize the big difference when you play against, I don't know, top 100 compared to top 20 or top 30 players, and it gets only harder, or it gets more extreme when you get higher, I guess. And also they are getting so good at reading what you are doing. So my movements it seemed like they were so easy for them to see if I attack straight or if I attack cross. So yeah, this was something that really stuck to me right away. Okay, these players, they seem to be super fast, but not because they are necessarily so fast with the legs, but they are so fast with their mind and can read quickly what is happening on court, what shot is the other one playing, maybe even before he's already playing it.
What are some of the skill sets they should look at in their own game to make that sort of wise decision if they can't decide which event they want to play in?
I think always good if you not specialize too early. I think always good if you especially continue playing singles as long as, I don't know, under 19, under 17 at least. So not trying to go for doubles too early, because when you get to the top level, you also have to be fast, cover a lot of the court very quick. And I think that I realized that when that actually is a little bit strange maybe, that I played only doubles in under 19, under 17 on tournaments, because I also planned to go for doubles at that time, but I was still training a lot of singles with my coach simultaneously. And I also felt that it helped my doubles, because I was maybe not the best with the racket there. So at these double specific things, I was maybe not the best one, but I was quite good at covering a lot of the court, moving fast, following up. And so it helped me there. And also afterwards, when I realized that I will not make it in doubles, or didn't get the chance to go to the center there, I switched after my youth years, or after under 19, to singles, and only focused on singles. And luckily I've also trained it a lot, so it was still possible for me to go both ways. So yeah, but if you are looking for something, how like what do you need in doubles? I think in doubles it's also a lot more tactical awareness, like also in singles, but I think in doubles you have to watch a lot of badminton. You have to really when you practice with a lot of speed in the shuttle, so you have little time to react and little time to read the situations. But this is I think something that's also hard to learn later when you're getting out of under 19 and you're not able to see any situations in doubles. I think then it gets a little bit hard. And the other way around, if you only do one step badminton and do not so much running, then it will get quite difficult to go for singles later, I think. Yeah, as I said, you have to be quick and fit. Like the physical demand in singles is, I also felt that in those years, is crazy how fit these single players are, how long they can play a high speed during the rally. And so the physical aspect, I think this is super important also for the training, that you are strong and fit enough to train hard every day, or to have a lot of training hours there when you get out of your junior years. I think also really important, as I said, these anticipation skills, that you're also good at reading shots. I think this goes for singles and doubles, but maybe a little bit more singles, that you have more time to also, when you play a clear, to read what is the movement he's doing. Does it look like a drop? Does it look like a smash? So maybe analyzing movements a little bit more. And I think one last thing, what also is, when you want to really make it to the top in singles, is that you need a certain weapon in your game. Like you can get quite far by just rallying and playing the shuttle back, being fit and fast. But at some point there will be some players usually that are also fast and can run quite long. And so you need some weapons. You need something where you can really, I don't know, have a really dangerous smash, or have a really dangerous spin at the net, where you can can put a lot of pressure on the other one.
In terms of mental preparation, do you have any tips or pieces of advice in terms of building that mental toughness that would be crucial in a match, or probably in training as well?
The first important thing is trying to really be well prepared. So also, when I think back, I did that. I was terrible at that at first, that I was, for example, not having enough racket, or I had enough rackets, but they all had a different grip when I went on court, or one was with a different stringing. And those small things are always in the back of your head especially when you think, I love that grip. That is my favorite grip. I had that so many times. And when the situation came and then my strings broke, I had to switch the racket. And I was, oh shit, now I have the racket with the other grip, or now I have the racket with the other strings in it. And even if it doesn't break, I always had it in the back of my head. So hopefully it doesn't break now. Hopefully, and this is already something that I think can have a huge mental impact on you. Like these small things that are totally unnecessary. Because if you are well prepared, if you can get your equipment ready, you have enough time. I think this is definitely a must for competition, and also something that you have to learn in the training. So now also with the players at our training, they are not allowed to borrow any rackets from someone else. They have to bring their own rackets. If they break, if every racket is broken, or if they just bring one racket and it breaks, then training is over. So this is really something I think you have to learn in the training. I learned it the hard way in some competitions, when afterwards I thought, oh shit, I think I lost that match maybe because just of that stupid thing here I could have been prepared for. So yeah, I think this is one important aspect. The other one is, I think everybody's a little bit individual here. Some people have not so much problems with being tough on the mental side, but some are really struggling. And I think routines, some mental routines, breathing patterns, I don't know, some different things you do in between the rallies to focus or to change your mind a little bit are super helpful. And also once again, you have to do that in training first. I think you will not be able to read a book, that sounds good routine, I do that in the competition, and that will not work. You have to try it out in a training time after time after time, and then in the end you will hopefully also be able to do that under pressure.
Sometimes a lot of players, they would sort of focus on like the last 3 or 4 points that they've lost in a match. So do you have any like sort of advice for those who, I don't know, seems to be sort of stuck in the past in terms of making mistakes, and they're always dwelling on the mistakes? So in terms of building that present moment focus.
Yeah, I think this special situation we have in racket sports, that we play a point and then we have a break and then we play the next point. I think it helps a lot to get a good structure into that, especially into that break process here. And what helped me was putting it into different steps. So the first step should be a reaction. Like after the rally ended, it can be like shouting, showing a fist. It can also be shouting because you're angry. I think it's also, sometimes it is okay. It should not be the reaction all the time after every mistake. But they're all maybe just saying nothing, but being conscious about, okay, I made a mistake, I made a point, but I want to stay calm now. But with that reaction, you also want to like set a finish point to the last rally or what happened before. So just what you said, I think happens so many times, that when people are angry or have a negative emotion or negative reaction, they carry on that reaction and they are like, shit, and I made that mistake, and probably the next rally will be the same again. So they are already taking those bad emotions into the next rally. But even if you are angry, I think what is some players are actually good at making one big shout, and what you think, okay, wow, he's really angry now, but then they are finished with that what happened in the past, and then they're ready to settle on. And afterwards, I think when you had that reaction, super helpful to have a little bit of break in between, like not already starting right away with, okay, I have to focus on the next point. What do I want to do? Because I also felt that when I tried that, I couldn't keep the concentration, not even for a set. I think there was always a point where I thought, I cannot concentrate anymore. So really taking that break and taking yourself that break to think about nothing, or freeing yourself up by breathing deeply. And after that, when you thought, okay, I had a little break, now I can refocus again, and what do I want to accomplish in the next rally? So I think these steps especially helped me. I think there are also a lot of other athletes that doing that quite well, and it helps a lot to avoid that problem.
And based on research, two things that athletes really struggle with. I think at some point in their career, almost every athlete has struggled with injury and performance anxiety. So, what is there anything in particular that you do in terms of helping them through that bad patch?
Oh, that is really one of the hardest parts, I guess, because I know it myself. As you said, I think everybody has experienced at least one of these. I had a couple of injuries. I never really had a super serious injury in terms of, I don't know, broken things. I had some broken ligaments, but I had one injury that was not really, it doesn't look that bad, but it always stopped me from training. And it was kind of an on-off thing. I trained few days and then it came back. Then I stopped. I think it went on for almost 1 year. And it was also the biggest problem for me there was not really knowing when or if I will ever be able to train normal again without so long breaks.
Yeah.
And I was also at that time very impatient. Like when I trained, that was for sure also one of the big problems. When I was able to train again, I went all out and I did the normal training routine again. And so it was not so surprising that the injury came back and didn't really went away. So about that injury process, it is so hard. I know it, but being patient is, I think, the most valuable thing you can think about, and always think about the situation that, like me, I like in the end I didn't get better over 1 year. I didn't improve at all because I always trained 5 days, was 2 weeks off, train 5 days, 2 weeks off. So there was no process at all. And if you just think, okay, even if I'm out for 1 month, for 2 months, depending on the injury, of course, it can even be longer. But just imagine that the best thing that can happen is that you can slowly start again and then have a long time of training without any interruptions. Also back again to that point of getting better every single day. I think you need that patience also when you rehab from an injury of trying to get a little bit closer to getting fit and don't want to rush things too quickly, because that's not how these injuries work usually.
A lot of times there may be some coaches that tend to only focus on the physical part of training, but often neglect to you know fully equip their athletes for the mental aspect of the game. Is there anything in particular that you do to help strengthen the mental part of the game of athletes?
When I see a situation in training where we always have a different setup in training than in a competition, so it's a little bit hard to mimic that competition state. But when I see something, when they play matches, when somebody's getting really angry, or when someone is I don't know, played really well, doesn't matter what, if there is an interesting situation where I think, okay, this is something where I want to talk with him or her about, to maybe help him get that good, or if he played a good match, for example, to get that good feeling again in the tournament. Or if he or she lost a terrible, like he was maybe leading with 19-15 and then lost the match in the end. Like talking about it afterwards, okay, what happened here and what can we do if you're coming to a similar situation in a competition. So always seeing that training as a chance to practice also those mental things, and thinking about, okay, this time I had those bad thoughts in that and I don't want that to happen again, and what can I do? And then as I said, it's a bit individual, but trying to figure out some ways how to get out of these bad states. For example, when you are under pressure, when someone is catching up and you seem to have no flow anymore. And also, as I said, these routines, always try out. There is no one fits all, but giving some ideas. Okay, today when you play matches, try to find a routine before you serve for doubles, and try to find something that even if it's not working, then you've learned something that this is maybe not the routine for you, but putting those things into the training is super important.
And do you believe also in having a routine before a match, like a pre-match routine and a post-match routine as well?
Oh yes, definitely. I think also here that will help you to get into a good mental state. Also, like once again, it's about knowing that you are prepared, that everything feels good. I also love that maybe writing a small journal before or when you play the tournament, then or before you play the tournament, write down what you did the day before and also maybe right before the match, and do that after a couple of tournaments, a couple of matches, and then in the end you also write down like how did you feel on court, and then maybe you see some similarities, like also in things when and what did you eat before the match, like how much did you sleep, and all these small things maybe or most of the times show also some patterns, and in the end you say, okay, now I see if I trained the day before, I performed really well, that helped me to have a good touch at the shuttle, so maybe that should be something I should aim for every time, that I will also practice the day before my matches. Not so hard, but a little bit of badminton the day before helps, or that kind of food, that kind of amount of sleep. And yeah, will not work all the time, but I think you will always go into the match with a feeling of, okay, I'm well prepared. I did everything that could help me to get the most out of the match now.
I only started, writing every day. I mean, even though I haven't been on court in a long time, that was the time that I decided to write my journals, to have some sort of normalcy to my day. And I think in terms of, like working out from home, you could kind of neglect that part. And especially, I don't want to lose that competitiveness when I'm at home, because I mean, it's only uh, me training. So I can sort of keep track with, like how many good days and bad days I have at home, even though it's just home workouts. So yeah.
Did you start it with that journal, or how long
I,
you are doing it now?
I started in April last year.
And do it every day, like every day a little bit writing down.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. Again, as you said, like every day a little bit, also reflecting if there was something where you actually got better that day or that session. Yeah, cool.
I think on the same topic of, like preparing for a match, what are your thoughts on visualization as well?
Also, I think there's huge potential in that. And I also have to admit that many times I thought about using it a lot more and trying it out myself, but it is, I think it is hard to, like with most things, to get started. It also would be cool to have a special coach who is good at that and helps you there. I did visualization in some ways already, but not something sustainable. Like what I think it would be great to do that more often. Also, maybe when you're injured, there are a lot of cool studies that you can actually train your muscles even without moving them, but just by imagining how you do different movements. I read something from I think, tennis player who was injured for quite a long time, and he wrote down how it feels when he hits the serve and what the muscles are doing, and then he visualized that over like every day, a few minutes, over a few months. And when he was finally able to get back on court, he said that he could hit harder, he had a better serve even without any training before. And I think this shows the power of visualization in those terms, but it also can help you a lot to get motivation when you visualize your goals more often. But yeah, one of those topics where I would like to be better or would like to do more, but haven't done so much yet. Are you using it? Are you doing visualization?
Well, I try to, but it's really hard to focus because when you sort of set time away to do that, and it's like your mind is having like a million and one thoughts, and it's hard to like center. So I hope to do it for a longer period of time. Coming off of what you said in terms of like the tennis player being able to sort of picture himself doing that particular thing, uh, let's say a lot of athletes from like small badminton nations, let's say when they're taking part in a tournament and they have to play a country that is well known for badminton, for example, and automatically they believe that they can't win, or it's like they've already lost a mental battle before they've stepped on court. What advice would you give them in that case?
I also experienced that myself, that if you play against someone, there only has to be an Asian flag like Malaysia, China, whatever behind his name. You haven't heard of him at all, but you're already like, oh shit. And
Yeah.
this is so deep in our heads. And also in Europe here, it is when you play against a Danish player in youth tournaments, or I also see that with a lot of kids when they play a Dane, it's always, oh, this will be tough. Of course, a lot of times it is. There is a reason why we are kind of a bit afraid sometimes, but I think the most important thing is to never actually start thinking like that, like never putting anything or giving anybody an advantage just because of his like nationality before you go on court, and do not focus so much on that, because there are also yeah, I think a lot of matches lost two players from there only because of this, of having maybe too much respect and maybe giving him 5 extra points in your own head before the match even started. So uh, I don't know if you can if you can do something against that quickly when you're already deep into that thinking. But I also try, when for me as a coach, to never foster that mindset, but always say, yeah, I don't care who we played today, where he comes from. We try our best, and yeah, let's see how far we will get.
Well, now we're gonna switch it to a bit some lighter topics. What is something that you didn't expect in the life of being a badminton coach?
Like as you said, there are so many things I'm interested in, and I also realized that I would love to be better there, would love to know more about it. But yeah, I think I somehow knew how complex it is, but I'm still surprised. Like every week when I think, now I think I have a quite good idea of that shot or of that physical thing here, and then I realize, okay, there is so much more to it. And yeah, sometimes a little bit yeah, still surprising. But yeah, the coolest thing I think about coaching, that you have so many possibilities, and there's never really an end in sight where you say, okay, no, now I know it all. That for sure will not happen.
And we often talk about how high performance athletes, to get to that level, they must have made a lot of sacrifices to make it to that level. But um, since you're a coach, what were some of the sacrifices that you had to make as well?
I think sacrifice is maybe a little bit hard word, because yeah, there are some things where I have to, yeah, maybe cannot do that often, or that, like, I love chocolate, or I love also having a beer in the evening. And the coach, I have a good situation that it's no problem for me to have it from time to time. But on the other hand, I'm also yeah, want to be a role model in that area, and want to yeah, keep myself also in shape. I'm still playing, and it's also these things where I have to say, okay, I cannot do them even if I want, but I'm also quite sure that I would be able to resist them anyway, because I decided to go that way, and decided yeah, this is worth it doing it, and this is I'm really willing to pay that price for all the upsides I get out of that. Just like in sports, you have to have to really focus on one thing. You can't do so many other things, but in the end, you do it because hopefully because you love it so much and get so much more out of it than you would get out of doing all these small things around it.
And do you have any favorite or memorable experiences from tournaments or anecdote that comes to mind? It can be when you're coaching or when you are a badminton player.
Lots of cool memories from tournaments, especially from other countries, other cultures. I think what was super cool was a tournament in Mauritius I played a couple of years ago. We also did some holidays after that, so that was really like an amazing trip. Cool tournament, completely different to anything I've ever played compared in Europe. Like I also played doubles there and reached the final with my partner. And then on the final day, the people they got it was like a big hall with 9 courts, and the middle court there we played, and the people came from outside, and they all got a plastic chair at the entrance, and they could just sit anywhere they want. So there was quite funny atmosphere for that final day with all these people just sitting in their own plastic chairs around, and but yeah, really really friendly and cool atmosphere there. I will always remember that. Yeah, there are tons of others. So I think this is exactly what I just said. I would always, again, pay the price, if you want to call it like that, for these things you are not able to do just by having these experiences, these memories. So I think it's a very cool trade-off to do.
In general, do you have like a favorite quote or something that you, I don't know, probably keep in the back of your mind day to day?
It changes a lot. I love quotes, and I always, when I see a good one, I write it down, and um, maybe once again, I think many people said it, but Kobe Bryant was really standing for that, getting better every day. Like what I said, just a little bit, but every day, that will sum up to huge success in the end. And down somewhere in front of me, so I'm ready for those situations here.
It's okay. Do you have any tips or words of encouragement to athletes who are still, trying to balance out the student athlete life?
I don't know. For me, when I was in school, I didn't do so much for school. And it was still working quite well. So I was in a comfortable situation. I can understand that that gets really really hard when you have a hard time there in school, and then also trying to follow your sport. I think it's important to realize that you cannot have it all. Also, during that time in school, and um, especially when you're getting a little bit older, getting a little bit more into the professional direction, um, you should still, of course, finish school and try to put as much work in there as possible. But for me, I also realized if I would cut down the sport a lot, I could probably write a better degree in my final exams. So I was pretty sure I could have done better there, but I said, yeah, I think it would not make such a huge difference, because it was not that it was anything like I was endangered or I was not writing good degrees. It was just like I could have been maybe even better there, but then I had to cut down a lot of training, and it was also important, I think, period of my career there to actually make it to the grown-ups. So yeah, maybe not the thing parents want to hear, maybe. And yeah, I just want to emphasize school is super important, so never put that totally away or like lose focus on that. But I think it is okay if you are ready to, if you really want to become a good player and make it after your junior career, then yeah, putting your focus also on the sport quite early.
That is probably the common thread between all of the interviews I've had so far. They all sort of like they didn't completely let go of school, but in terms of like they couldn't really cut down on the badminton, and you know just by doing, let's say, what is required of school, that was enough. Like completely let the badminton part go. That was almost like their first priority.
I know here it's also there are a lot of ways how you can also change your way after school, because a lot of I think a lot of people are always afraid that if I don't have the degrees right now, then I close so many doors and I close so many options. But in my experience, and I also know a lot of people that even if they maybe didn't have the best degrees in the end, they found they had a lot of different options, and they almost for anything you want to do, you can find a way to do it if you really love it, if you put enough work in it. And yeah, so I think especially if you want to go for the sport, if you love it, if you're quite sure you want to also go follow your dreams after school, then I think it's totally fine.
Can you think of any pros of being a badminton player from a small badminton nation? But every time I ask this question, I always get new responses as well. But I think the main one is it's probably easier to qualify for some of the big tournaments, like in those Asian countries. Even though you're probably the the best in your state, for example, you probably have to be like within the top two out of hundreds and hundreds of players. So I think it's easier in that aspect.
Yeah, I I think yeah, that's also the answer everybody would give. And here in Germany, it's also we are kind of in between. On one hand, you would say I sometimes I hear people say, yeah, if I would come from I don't know, Austria or Swiss, it would be so much easier to qualify. But then on the other hand, you can say, yeah, but if you come from Denmark, um, then you would say, if I would come from Germany, that would be so there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is always that aspect, but I think in the end, there is it is hard to say because I don't know I never really had that huge benefit of it because I didn't get to Olympics or like team championships or something. But I think this is actually cool. Or everything I heard from the people who went to Suderman Cup, Thomas Cup from Germany, I think they were so happy that they had those experiences. So yeah, but on the other hand, you have a lot harder time to make it to winning those tournaments and maybe
Yeah.
yeah, making it all the way to the top.
What is it that you think that athletes who are probably still in the lockdown situations should focus most on during their stay-at-home orders?
Depends a little bit on the athlete, like how old are you, what are your maybe also strengths, weaknesses. So I think the perfect situation is if you are super technical and tactical and just need to work on your physical things, then there are a lot of opportunities now, and I think you can use that time really well. But the other way around, yeah, I think it gets really tricky if you have to stay away um, from a court too long. I thought a lot about it. I also did some YouTube videos on it where I think there are some ways how you can practice to, especially some technical skills for all kinds of levels, or practice a little bit with the racket and also with your footwork. But yeah, especially when it comes to tactics, for example, it gets hard. You can watch videos, you can analyze that, but what I just said with that game reading and anticipation, you unfortunately I think need to stand on court a lot to really improve there. So yeah, but there are, as I said, a lot of areas to work on: physical, technical, and I think you had a good point with visualization. So maybe this is also something players should consider even more during those times to train in their heads instead of on court.
Before we end this interview, do you have any final thoughts or anything you'd like to say?
First of all, thank you so much for being here, and I think it's super cool to see players from all around the world like you having so much passion and love for badminton, and can just encourage anybody to who also comes maybe from a smaller badminton nation, and what you just asked, it's not that easy there, but follow your dreams and follow your passion. Because in terms of my career, in the beginning, I would told myself like 20 years ago or like 15 years ago that in the end you do not get to the Olympics, you do not play all these big tournaments. And then at that time I would thought, why would I put all that time into that? And if I don't reach all my goals, and now I can say after all these years that I would do it once again for sure, 100%, because so many cool experience because of the sport, so many memories, so many people I've met, and so I can just encourage anybody who has love for the sport and maybe is still thinking, should I do it? Should I put really time into it? I think if you are in there with your heart, then you can do so many. Then it's not a bad decision at all, I guess.
Okay. Well, thanks Tobias for being a part of Conversations with Mentors. And if any of the viewers want to get in touch with you or follow your journey, where can they find you?
Just on Instagram or Facebook at Toby Wardenka, or you all mentioned also the YouTube channel. I think those are the 3 platforms where I'm active on, and also a website, tobiaswardenka.com. There you can also get in touch with me.
So I'll put all of your information in the description box below. And thanks everyone for watching Conversations with Mentors, and I'll see you guys for the next episode.